Chin Music. I'm Jason Gilbo, JGilbo11, breaking down some GPP bats for tonight's slate. 15 games, decent pitching, some pay-up options. So we're going to be looking at this mid-range and value for some plays here. Overall, you get a lot of high totals once again. We don't have Chase, or we don't have Coors, but we do have Chase Field tonight, which is an interesting one. Two catchers that I'm looking at that hit lefties really well, and that's Yan Gomes back at home against Mejia. He has allowed a 369 wOBA to righties, 37% hard contact rate, 1.83 homes per nine this year. Gomes over a 200 ISO against lefties, hitting seventh in the lineup. I don't mind him. The other one I was looking at is Cameron Rupp. This guy has a lot of power against lefties. Struggled basically his last start. He went yard against Corbin. But other than that, he's been awful this year, batting below 200. But I'll take a look in that ballpark. His price tag is nice. He's going to be hitting about seventh as well. You look at Corbin, 377 wOBA to righties, 38% hard contact rate. He's allowed 12 homers to right-handed bats. Moon at Chase Field, I'll take a look at some of those right-handed Phillies bats as well for GPPs. So I don't mind those two. In terms of the mid-range, I mean, you know, Miguel Montero would be intriguing if he's in the lineup hitting fifth or sixth. I would take a look at him. Outside of that, I mean, you know, Alex Avila is worth a look against Perdomo, who struggled with lefties, but Perdomo's somewhat intriguing tonight. So, yeah, I think those names really stand out. Looking at first base, obviously you're going to get, you know, Anthony Rizzo, Goldschmidt, Encarnacion, a higher ownership tonight than before. Ryan Zimmerman's cooled off a little bit, you know, but hitting 262 with a couple of homers over the last few weeks is still not bad. 4,600 on DK. I like him going up against Castillo. He's an intriguing part of the Washington stack that is probably going to get overlooked a little bit. But where I do think you can make some damage is Justin Bour, 4,500, going up against John Lackey, who's allowed a 371 wOBA to lefties, 38% hard contact rate, 2.75 home runs per nine. Marlins are a sneaky offense tonight against Lackey, very much in play for me. And, you know, I think the price really isn't all that bad either. So like him a lot. Jose Abreu is another one. He's going to get a little bit overlooked. You look at Cotton, struggles with righties, 358 wOBA, 41% hard contact rate, 1.69 home runs per nine. Abreu's cheap. He's going to go overlooked. Near 200 ISO against righties this year, 193 to be exact. Oddly hasn't hit a homer at home this year, but I'll definitely consider him, like him a lot. And then Matt Davidson's the other one for that same reason. Against righties, you know, he has over a 300 ISO. He has shown a ton of power. I mean, you're looking at basically 7 home runs over his last, 10 games or so, and he's been absolutely on fire. Continue to look at him. He's first and third base eligible on DK. Like the upside there with Cotton struggling against righties and having another low ground ball rate. So those are intriguing options that go overlooked at the position tonight. Second base, I like Daniel Murphy here against Castillo. I like the Washington bats. Murphy's just been kind of flying a little bit under the radar of late, hitting over 350 over the last 2 weeks. Very much in play against a rookie right-hander at home where he's actually hit a little bit poor in terms of power numbers. He's been better on the road. Has 10 of his 12 home runs on the road this year, but Washington's not bad this time of year, so I'll look to play him. Brendan Drury is an intriguing second base option. He's been absolutely on fire. Had that big game in Coors where he went 4 for 6 with 6 ribbies. This guy's actually hit right-handed pitching really well. You can look to lock him in and probably get a little bit lower ownership on a 15-game slate. Just always check the lineup. Robinson Cano's coming off a monster game, 2 homers. Probably going to be popular just because he is 4K on DraftKings, and that's pretty cheap in terms of what Cano should be. So he'll probably draw some high ownership. I like D. Gordon at 3,800. He's not badly priced over on FanDuel as well. He's under 35. 6 stolen bases over the last 10 games. Getting on base, I like the upside here. With the stolen base potential. So in play, if you're looking cheap, Logan Forsythe should be leading off again up against Kyle Freeland. Freeland's not a bad lefty. Guy's pretty neutral against right-handers, 322 wOBA. He does roll a lot of ground balls, but Forsythe does hit lefties really well. Leading off, he would be a nice value piece, nice some exposure because Dodgers do have a friendly run total again tonight. So definitely don't mind him. Moving on to third base. you're looking Jake Lamb's going to carry some high upside. Trevor Bauer will as well, Chris Bryant. But, I think if you're looking to make a little bit of a move, going down low, Justin Turner has homered in 3 of the last 4 games he's played. Always check the lineup. He seems to be kind of in and out on the daily basis, but this guy's absolutely mashing lefties. Always has, but has been a little bit unlucky in the past. But really like him going up against Freeland tonight. Travis Shaw, this guy just continues to mash the ball as well. A couple homers over the last 2 weeks. I don't think anyone's going to really garner a ton of ownership on this one, and I think Shaw's a good way to kind of pay down a little bit and still get that exposure to a high upside third baseman. Because, you look at full 2 minutes, this is the one thing I touched about in the pitcher pod is 402 WOBA to lefties, 6 home runs, 1.74 homes per 9. That's an issue when talking about guys like Thames and Sogard and Shaw, but Shaw's been the one paying off here of late. So he's an intriguing one. Then if you're looking lower, I talked about Todd Frazier and the White Sox. They're in a good spot. Davidson there as well. You kind of like that potential. Kyle Seager, that's a guy who's been struggling, but prices dropped down to 3,500. Going up against Musgrove, who averaged against lefties, 322 WOBA, not missing a ton of bats, 31% or contact rate. Seager's in a good spot in that late game if you're looking to get a value third baseman. There is that upside. And then you got Forsythe, who is third base eligible on DraftKings. If Derek Dietrich is in the lineup, I'll consider him. He'll be a cheap value. Don't mind him against Lackey, as I said, with the lefties there in play. Moving on to shortstop. This is a spot where I probably won't be paying up a ton. I like Gene Segura, 4,300. I feel like that's a really nice price tag. Got a game under his belt from the DL. This guy's hit righties well. You look at Musgrove, he's been reverse splits this year, 377 WOBA to righties, 34% our contact rate. Segura hits right-hander pitching fairly well, very much in play. Eric Sogard, for the same reasons mentioned against Fultunuits, I don't mind going after that. In terms of cheap guys, this is one where I'm going to probably wait and see where lineups come out and see what we can get, because a lot of these guys just aren't in great spots, but if we get a couple cheap guys that pop into the lineup, I'll be in play. Outside of that, really below 3,500, not much is in for me to really consider. Brandon Crawford, maybe in that late game, would be something to look at against Seth Lugo, who's been pretty average against both sides of the plate. Outside of that, though, you're not looking at a ton of potential. Maybe Chad Pinder you can consider against Pelfrey. Ace bats are somewhat sneaky tonight, so keep an eye on the lineup. But I think overall, I like Chris Owings. I like Gene Segura. Those guys are two options, and Sogard as well. 3 options I'll find in that mid-range. So moving on to outfield, your guys up here are going to carry some ownership. Bryce Harper, Mookie Betts. I don't even think Aaron Judge is going to be as high owned as the past few days going to be in Starfish, but he'll still probably carry some ownership. And you kind of look elsewhere. Looking down, Steven Souza, intriguing against Jimenez, who's, against right-handed pitching over the past few years has been a guy to target. This year, 35% hard contact rate. I don't mind the raised bats. Him and Corey Dickerson really like the upside that they bring, even in that ballpark. But then you kind of look here and a lot of good options, a lot of good price tags. Nelson Cruz, 4,200 on DraftKings. I don't mind the upside to Sam. I just talked about Musgrove and his reverse splits. There's that potential there. Chris Davis against Mike Pelfrey. Pelfrey's been a guy who just, you expect him to just go out there and get an absolute shell, but he just doesn't. Against righties this year, he's actually holding a 263 WOBA and actually rolling a lot of ground balls, but still not missing a ton of bats. So I'll take the upside of Chris Davis there in that friendly ballpark. Mitch Haniger as well. There's some upside. You look at Haniger, over 200 ISO against righties. Musgrove once again, reverse splits. High run total out there in Seattle, so could see some offense in that ballpark who's been accustomed to seeing every now and then. But in terms of cheap guys, looking down the list here, Toronto's somewhat cheap against Junis, who's been a little bit rough around the edges. Christian Yelich below 4K on DraftKings. This guy's been struggling, I guess, a little bit over the last week or so. Not hitting for a ton of power this year, but looking up against Lackey, I like the upside. I like this Marlin stack. It's kind of a sneaky one. It's going to grow on me. Aaron Altair, Howie Kendrick, those are two right-handed bats that I like to look at against Corbin in the outfield. They're cheap. Corbin allowing a 38% contact rate to righties. Phillies bats are in play for me in terms of value. I like looking there. Malik Smith, he's going to be popular going up against Jimenez, given the fact that he has stolen base upside. He's been hitting well, hitting leadoff. Yoka Jimenez, 415 WOBA to lefties, 33% contact rate. So Smith is going to garner some ownership, as he should. He'll be a popular play, but definitely don't mind him. And if Brian Goodwin's in the lineup, and hitting second would be preferably, but he'll probably find his way around sixth. He's part of that Washington stack that kind of helps salary relief a little bit. Has some power, over 200 ISO against righties so far this year in a limited sample size, but I like the potential and what he's bringing to the table. He fits in nicely in the stack that's always expensive and always has a high run total, so go ahead and consider them. Outside of that, though, I mean, Austin Jackson, he's still cheap on FanDuel. You can look at him coming off a big night. He's been strong against lefties this year. DraftKings, he's 3,800, so he's a little bit more expensive, but still a value. And this is another night where, we might see some guys pop up into the lineup, that might not usually get there, get some value, and kind of look for those mispriced guys on DraftKings, especially where they just continue to kind of miss some bats. Miguel Cabrera is always cheap. Gregory Polanco is always cheap. Like I said, Kyle Seager, really cheap. So, there's definitely guys in all price ranges and bigger names as well. So, keep a look on those. Just mentioned a few. Be sure to check out dailyfantasycafe.com. Check out great tools and content, and good luck.